Why was Tom Paris in prison when Star Trek Voyager began? In the premiere episode of Star Trek Voyager, caretaker Tom Paris, Robert Duncan McNeill, was a prisoner of the United Federation of Planets serving time in a New Zealand penal colony. At the time, Paris was a former Starfleet pilot who became a jaded loner with low self-esteem and lost trust in a system that had repeatedly failed him. Captain Catherine Janeway Kate Mulgrew knew Tom Paris as the son of her former commanding officer, Admiral Owen Paris, Richard Hurd, and specifically sought Tom out to pilot the USS Voyager's risky Badlands mission in search of Chakotay's Robert Beltran. Maquis Raider. One early Star Trek Voyager concept was the blending of Captain Janeway's Starfleet officers with Commander Chakotay's Maquis fighters to create a single crew that had to work together in the Delta Quadrant. The Maquis in Star Trek Deep Space Nine were comprised of former Federation citizens whose homes had been annexed by the Cardassians and disillusioned Starfleet officers. In protest, the Maquis organized to commit acts of terrorism against both the Federation and the Cardassians. If caught, the Federation charged the Maquis with treason in addition to any other crimes individual fighters committed. Tom Paris in prison when Star Trek Voyager started. Explained at the start of Star Trek Voyager, Tom Paris was serving an 18-month-long prison sentence in New Zealand's Federation penal colony because Paris was convicted of treason against the Federation for working as a Maquis mercenary. Since Federation prisons like the New Zealand settlement prioritized rehabilitation over ineffective punishments, a non-violent prisoner like Tom Paris could reduce his sentence through supervised service to Starfleet. Under Janeway's supervision, Paris was released from the penal colony as an official observer on the USS Voyager, who could help track down Chakotay's Maquis crew. Paris didn't have any particular allegiance to the Maquis, so it was easy for Tom to take Janeway's deal. Before working for the Maquis, Tom Paris had begrudgingly followed his father into Starfleet in hopes of earning Admiral Paris's affection. Unfortunately, on Tom Paris's first Starfleet assignment, Paris committed a pilot error that resulted in the deaths of 3 Starfleet officers. Paris initially covered up the evidence that implicated him, but eventually admitted his guilt and was still dishonorably discharged from Starfleet. The Maquis gave Paris the fight he'd been looking for after his Starfleet expulsion. Tom Paris was supposed to be Star Trek TNG's Nick Locarno originally. The character that evolved into Tom Paris was supposed to be Star Trek The Next Generation Starfleet cadet Nick Locarno, also played by Robert Duncan McNeill. In Star Trek The Next Generation Season 5, Episode 19, The First Duty, Locarno was part of Nova Squadron with Wesley Crusher, Will Wheaton. Nick Locarno pushed Nova Squadron to attempt the dangerous Colvard starburst maneuver, resulting in the death of Cadet Josh Albert. Rather than own up to his part in the tragedy, Locarno insisted Nova Squadron should cover up Josh's death as an accident. Despite eventually confessing, Nick was expelled from Starfleet Academy. When Star Trek Voyager premiered in 1995, one of the most intriguing aspects of its ensemble cast was the presence of Tom Paris, a former Starfleet officer who was serving time in prison at the beginning of the series. His past, marked by both personal failures and a brush with treason, set him apart from the clean-cut officers usually portrayed in Star Trek. This backstory added depth to his character and highlighted broader themes within the Star Trek universe, such as redemption, the consequences of individual choices, and the often blurred line between heroism and failure. Tom Paris's background. A troubled past before joining Voyager, Tom Paris's path was defined by both privilege and failure. Born to a prestigious Starfleet family, his father, Admiral Owen Paris, was a respected figure in the Federation. Tom had every advantage growing up. He was expected to follow in his father's footsteps and rise to prominence within Starfleet. However, this pressure also became his undoing. After graduating from Starfleet Academy, Paris was assigned to the USS Exeter. His career seemed promising, but it quickly took a disastrous turn. In a shuttle accident caused by his own negligence, Paris was responsible for the deaths of 3 fellow officers. Rather than immediately admit to his mistake, he attempted to cover it up by falsifying reports. This decision ultimately destroyed his career. The truth came out, and Paris was court-martialed, leading to his dismissal from Starfleet in disgrace. The guilt he carried from the accident, combined with his father's disappointment, left him emotionally shattered and adrift. A path to rebellion. Joining the Maquis in the aftermath of his expulsion from Starfleet, Paris became a wanderer, feeling disconnected from the life he had once envisioned. It was during this aimless period that he encountered the Maquis, a group of rebels formed by Federation citizens who were displaced by a treaty with the Cardassians. These rebels fought to protect their homes and interests in the demilitarized zone, often operating outside the bounds of Federation law. Paris joined the Maquis, hoping to find purpose and perhaps a way to atone for his past mistakes. However, his time with the Maquis was short-lived. Inexperienced and still grappling with his own issues, Paris was captured during his first mission for the group. Starfleet, which considered the Maquis a terrorist organization, swiftly arrested and imprisoned him. It was here, at a Federation penal colony, that we first meet Paris in the pilot episode of Star Trek Voyager. Why was he chosen for Voyager's mission? In Voyager's pilot episode, Caretaker, Captain Catherine Janeway approaches Paris with an offer, his freedom in exchange for helping her track down a missing Maquis ship, which had vanished into the Badlands, a dangerous region of space. The Maquis ship in question was captained by Chakotay, a former Starfleet officer turned rebel and one of Paris's old associates. Given his knowledge of the Maquis and his familiarity with their tactics, Paris was an ideal candidate for the mission, despite or perhaps because of his tarnished reputation. Paris agrees to Janeway's offer, not only because it's a chance at freedom, but also because it presents an opportunity for redemption. From the outset, it's clear that Paris sees this mission as more than just a way out of prison. It's a way to prove that he can still be of value, both to Starfleet and to himself. This sets up one of the major character arcs for Paris throughout the series, the quest for redemption and self-worth. Redemption and growth aboard Voyager. Once Voyager is stranded in the Delta Quadrant, far from Federation space, Paris's role on the ship becomes more than just a temporary arrangement. The ship's crew, now isolated and facing the prospect of a 70-year journey home, must rely on every individual's skills, regardless of their past. Paris is reinstated as a Starfleet officer, serving as Voyager's chief helmsman. Over the course of the series, he transforms from a disgraced former officer and ex-convict into a trusted and reliable member of the crew. One of the reasons Paris's character resonates with viewers is that his journey reflects broader human themes of failure, redemption, and the ongoing struggle to overcome personal demons. Throughout the series, Paris makes mistakes, grapples with his own insecurities, and works to rebuild his relationships with those around him. He forms deep friendships, particularly with Harry Kim, and eventually becomes a husband and father. These developments allow Paris to grow beyond his initial persona as a brash and troubled outsider. Paris and the theme of redemption in Star Trek. The character of Tom Paris embodies a central theme within the Star Trek universe, the belief that individuals can grow, change, and redeem themselves, no matter how dire their past mistakes. Star Trek has long been known for its optimistic view of humanity's future, where people work together for the greater good. Paris's story adds nuance to this vision, showing that even in an idealistic society, personal failures still happen, and redemption is often a long, difficult process. Paris's journey from a prisoner to a respected officer also mirrors the overarching journey of Voyager's crew stranded far from home.